gonna pop us over here and unmute you. There we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Read Aloud today. It is wonderful to have you here, and it's wonderful to have people in the chat. This is great. Hello. So, hello, Travis Tavern and Tempest and Secondhand. It's wonderful to see you guys. So, this month, today, obviously, we've released the 4th issue of the vssCollab zine called In Threads. So if you're not sure what vssCollab is, it's a very short story VSS challenge where we thread together Twitter length story snippets into a longer story. And so there's the link if you're interested in checking it out or joining us. And to be a part of it, you only have to do 2 tweets. So, it's easy. If you'd like to get your hands on a copy of issue number 4 or the other issues, you can go to that article, and then there's a link at the top to be able to get to the other issues too. So, and we have a great selection of stories. I don't think we're going to be able to read all of them tonight, just because George isn't here and didn't request a story read. So that said, we will read all of the rest of them, and yeah. So I have Wordy Girl, also known as Lexicon, here with me. Wordy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. Hopefully you guys can hear me.
Yeah, we'll do.
Okay. Yes, as she said, my name is Wordy Girl, Lexicon. I go by a lot of different names, but I do like writing. My current project is Secret Agent Someone, which is a, mild sci-fi action suspense story. So yeah, there's a lot going on in there, but yes, I'm always glad to join with Shy with the In Threads, and thank you so much for including my story and having me on the stream.
Well, thank you for submitting and being a part of it and reading aloud with me. It's wonderful to have you here. So thank you. Well, with that, are we ready to get into some reading? I am, I think.
I am.
We didn't discuss order. Do we want to do Dez's first, and then you read, and then I'll read mine last?
That sounds good.
Okay. Unless you have a burning desire to, I will read Dez's, because she told me how to say Anunitum. So hopefully I can remember to say it that way.
Yes, feel free.
Alrighty, I will do that then. So, up first, and while I'm reading, I won't be able to see the chat, just so you guys know, because I had to make the screen pretty big. So I'll catch up with chat after the story. Our first story tonight is Trinket Fairy by Desdemona Rose. The summary is a gift left by a stranger. Would you keep it? Wonder who left it? What if it was something you'd lost long ago? Or maybe just a sweet sentiment? What if it was a chess game missing a piece? And I will turn off the music so that we can focus just on this story here quick before we get into the story. So this is from Dez's series called Talithia Harbor. The genre is sci-fi and mystery. There is a content warning, just so you guys can be noted, of a brief mention of death, grieving, and orphan children, just in case those would be triggers for you guys. I'm going to take a quick slurp of my tea before I get to reading here. Okay. The late spring air in the great city of Anonitum, the first of Talithia's harbor cities, carried the scent of fresh flowers through an open kitchen window. An older Talithian, their gray hair dyed blue, ambled through the door to their home after an early morning stroll and inhaled deeply. The fragrance was their favorite, made by their neighbor's rooftop garden. Their stiff knees and bowed back had turned their roof into a wild jungle of native plants. As they passed the kitchen, they spotted something on the dining table. Surprised, their gaze followed a row of 5 gems, each one a different color. Under the sunlit stones laid a slip of paper. They pulled it out, happy to see the large writing they could read. You deserve something pretty. Spring heated into summer, and a young couple found solace in a hike through the cool shade of ancient Anonitum forests. A pair of amber eyes peered at them through the dense leaves of foliage, created by large fronds and bushes. They watched as the couple, walking hand in hand, oblivious to their presence, flirted and giggled. An amused smile crossed the watcher's face as the pair almost stumbled over a basket. The shorter of the two, Zir, dark hair in a long bun, leaned over and picked it up. Inside were 2 woven bracelets with matching red and orange layered stones. Z pulled out the note and read it to Zir partner with a sweet smile. Carry each other. The autumnal breeze blew away the summer and tousled the hair of a confused father in his stoop. His toddler held a small carved wooden rabbit in their chubby hands, dancing on their feet. There were no gifting holidays during this time, nor was it the child's birthday. Bunny, they said cheerfully. He reached for the tag around the sculpture's neck and removed it. 3 words written on it said, "Keep it safe." Winter winds were blowing in the days when Talithians could safely travel were growing short. An amber-eyed figure in a nondescript cloak walked with purpose to an artisan's stall. They held a large wooden box of gathered rocks, arthropod shells, seed pods, and other supplies used in the art of trinket crafting. I need a gift for a special friend. Anything you don't use is yours. The skeptical artist opened the lid, and their eyes widened with surprise. There was at least 1 soul cycle of permitted resources there. They reached in and pulled out a handful of random things. A rainbow of shapes filled their palm. A few they didn't even recognize. This is worth more than a gift. I could make hundreds of credits from this. I only need 1, they were told. A star map that matches the one laid out with skipping stones in Constellation Park. Make it however you want. I will be gone until the start of winter, 2 souls from now. I won't need it until then. Before the artist could comment on how far away that was or that the payment was far too high, the person turned and hurried away, leaving them to wonder if they'd see them again. There wasn't a way to determine whether they collected the items with respect to the ecology. They kept them regardless. And in time they decided to make one of their best pieces for the mysterious stranger. The first flush of morning brought fog, which shrouded Anonitum. It was dense and concealed a square digital device that someone had laid in front of identity services. A member of the Ouroboros vocation almost stepped on it. He picked up the identity pad and turned it over in his hand. The model was an old one. No one had used it in a long time. He's dead now, a large paper tag said. Shivering in brisk winter air, a grieving Talithian pulled the green fiber-woven jacket he was wearing a little tighter. There was a flicker of movement in the corner of his eye, and he turned towards it. When he sobbed, tears coming in a burst, as he noticed the blue-green fish leather journal that had appeared. It sat on the thick wooden fence around the tree that his partner's remains rested near. He carefully took it and flipped open the cover. The pages were old but undamaged. He recognized the delicate writing created by a hand that would never caress him again. A sheet of paper fell out, and he plucked it out of the grass. The only word written on it was, "Sorry." An old woman in the icy northern great city of Sima woke after he heard. An old man in the icy northern great city of Sima woke after he heard her knock. He yawned as he picked up his identity pad, a tablet that communicated with all of Talithia Harbor. It showed no one at the door. Grumbling, he slipped out of bed and slowly made his way through the house. Once he reached it, the exit slid open, chilling the foyer with brisk winter air. On his stoop, sitting on the top of the snow, laid a chess game. He lifted the lid and noticed a piece was missing. A long and thin roll of paper with a message sat in the empty slot. "I kept the night." It was the longest night of Talithia Harbor's soul cycle, a full 22-hour day with no sun. Talithians were gathering for the carnival in the stars, a day of games, music, and dancing in the light of hundreds of bonfires. At a schoolhouse barracks, several children who had no parents were being gathered by the caretaker on duty. It was an exciting time for them. Lessons were put on hold, only treats and running through the city with other young Talithians. The caretaker on duty opened the door so they could join in the celebration, and cried out in joyous surprise. In front of the barracks, he found a row of 7 carnival mats, rolled up and tied with different colors of twine. On one was a note. He plucked it off the mat and turned to read it to the waiting children. "You are still loved." Boots crunched in the forested grass of an early spring morning. The woman followed the same route every day, enjoying a narrow trail that ran along the base of a Sima mountain. A small box sat in her path. She plucked it up and unwrapped a paper that someone had tied around it. "You dropped this 7 souls ago." She opened it and found a ring she'd almost forgotten. It was a special time at Better Days, a Sima pub with a giant sun painted above its door. They were opening their first cask of summer ale. People crowded the cozy establishment, filling the air with a cheerful hum of voices, glad the coldest of the season was behind them. "Look," one said, scrolling through the news forum on their identity pad. "There's a name for the mysterious person who's been leaving gifts around Talithia Harbor. A journalist dubbed them Trinket Fairy." A throng of people moved in and out of a large square squat building that contained a food market in the still warm early fall air of the southern great city of Pangu. It was the most colorful of Talithia's cities, the buildings painted in a rainbow of color. The sweltering heat of summer had drifted away, giving the Denzians a pleasant day. A shopkeeper stayed busy keeping the store neat so the censors could record everyone's purchases. Later, as they prepared the store to be closed for the night, they discovered a hollowed-out gourd in the rear of the shop. An artist had painted a detailed beach scene wrapped around the entirety of its hard shell, an impressive work of art. Inside, a rolled-up paper read, "Someone loved this." It was harvest time for the lumpy green Pangu citrus that was popular in the 3 Talithian cities. The cool winter air would brown them if left in the trees for too long. An arborist worked among even rows of trees, pinching hanging fruits and judging their ripeness. At one tree, they saw a brown sack hanging tied to a high limb. They fetched a stool and untied the rope that held it. When they opened the bag, they found a thin, handmade book. It looked to be made for children, full of pictures about dinosaurs, ancient creatures from the planet Earth. Someone had tucked a brief note with the book. "This one was my favorite, but I must pass it along. It's the right thing to do." A small child wandered along the beach, their coat buttoned up. Winter rain had fallen the day before, and they asked their parents to build sandcastles. During their latest creation, they had disturbed a crab. They were now following its trail, their mothers too distracted in argument with each other to notice. From behind a rock, a figure watched. As the little one grew closer, they held out a plump fabric doll. "Show your parents. Tell them it's from the Trinket Fairy." A tired caregiver trudged exhausted towards the garden that Z shared in the communal space between several Pangu homes. The day had been long, and Z wanted to relax. Z sat on the cobble ledge that surrounded the plants and enjoyed yellows, oranges, and purples from several that had flowered in the early spring. A scrap of tan paper poked through the leaves, and Z pushed them aside, revealing a nondescript tan bag. Inside was a flower delicately woven out of recycled wire. On the tag, the bag read, "For whoever finds this first, from the Trinket Fairy." A young man in a wide-brimmed sun hat in an alleyway, clenching his fists, eyes squeezed shut, and trying to slow his breathing. His heart pounded, consumed by a panic attack without a recognizable trigger. He thought he was out of sight, but sensed someone walk up to him, pause, then walk away. When he was steady enough to open his eyes, he found an ornate wooden box at his feet, a hastily written note laid on top. "For your anxiety, from the Trinket Fairy." When he opened it up, the box was full of Margelo packets, a relaxing recreational drug Talithians used as a drinkable powder that sometimes helped with anxiety. It was something he had access to, but it still made him smile. Two eyes peered out from between two bags, and he reached in, pulling out a small stuffed rabbit. The toy was filled with small beads. He squished his fingers into the creature's body, feeling the tiny balls move under his fingers, finding comfort in the toy's texture. Young Talithians swarmed into a classroom. They had just returned from the stroll, and it was time for an afternoon snack. A wooden chest stood in the middle of the room. They opened the lid, revealing a wide variety of dolls, wooden soul cars, toy bugs, balls, and a wide gliding Kuznite fly, which was swiftly dispersed around the room. After catching the sailing glider, a confused caretaker told them not to lose any of the toys, and saw a note laying crumpled in the chest's bottom. "I hope they bring everyone joy. Your friend, the Trinket Fairy." The days had grown slightly shorter through winter, though winter was still months away. The famous Dumas traveling troupe had returned to Pangu, and soon they'd have their first fall production back at home. They arrived at an outdoor theater in small groups, taking advantage of the early morning hours. As they did, the noise of a growing crowd pulled them to the rear of the building. Somehow, in the night, several pieces of furniture had appeared, shielded under an alcove. There were kitchen chairs, stools, a modest chest, and other easier to carry items. Someone had covered them in a myriad of shells, dried plants, stones, twigs, and other bits and pieces one can find while traversing Talitha Harbor. It was chaotic, with no rhyme or reason to it, as if a child had decorated them. One chair had a note tied to it. The handwriting looked familiar, though it was unsigned. "I can't use these anymore. Please, don't let them be forgotten." A messenger delivered an unexpected letter to an anonitem artisan. For almost 2 sols, an elaborate piece of wall art had decorated their booth. It was in the shape of a constellation, and there had been many offers for it. They had declined them all. Opening the envelope revealed a note with 2 flat amber rocks tucked inside, both polished to a shine. "I am sorry I won't be able to make it as planned. Could you deliver the art I commissioned to the address I've included in the package? Take the stones as further payment. I also need the second envelope included, attached. I don't have an identity pad, so I had to send the paper note. The person there can vouch for me." A crowd of Talithians were gathered around something in the center of the large circular main floor of Pangu's fortress and community center. One of the Council of 13 pushed their way through. The soft sounds of digital clicks surrounded them as people took photos of something with their identity pads. Pictures uploaded to the Tilithian Harbor news forums for everyone to see. They showed a short heap of raw ore. A large paper sign stood out of the pile, tied around a long and thin tree branch. Returning home with love. Thank you for accepting my gifts. The Trinket Fairy. A tall investigator received a notice on their identity pad. There was a package waiting at the front door. She accepted it. A large object wrapped in brown paper. She carefully placed it on her coffee table, then slipped a note out from between two folded ends of the package. Meet me at the Ananitum ferry dock on 22 Dio. I'll be arriving around 1300. Ever yours. A grin broke out across her face, and she dropped the note on the table and tore open the package, revealing a skillfully crafted constellation. She ran a finger over the stones and shells that were wired together to create the design. Her finger stopped on one of the small stones. It was a beautiful one, a pale blue like the morning sky. But it wasn't the color that had paused her trek. Memories from long ago surfaced in her mind when she was just a child, her world still full of innocence. A memory of a new friend with amber eyes that matched hers. In a small park, a group of young children ran through the grass while parents watched and conversed about their lives. In one corner, a nervous and quiet child sat and watched, too scared to join. A younger Telithian, who had only seen their fourth soul, saw them. After a moment's thought, they walked up to their own mother and asked for their favorite toy and a clean handkerchief. She handed them a small stuffed pink jellyfish and a piece of undyed linen. Eager hands rolled the jellyfish in the cloth and asked their mother to push in the edges for them. Once their package was ready, they skipped to the shy child and thrust out their hands. For you! From the Trinket Fairy. The end. So, how did you guys like it? I actually had to take a breath so I didn't tear up because I know a little bit. Des shared a little bit of the story and I'm like, ooh. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that one. And then I'm going to mute myself so that Wordy Girl can read her story next. So anywho, there it is. So I think Des did an awesome job. This is seriously one of my favorites so far of what she's done. So take it away, Wordy.
Thank you. That was such a lovely story. I had the honor of reading through it for edits, and it was really nice. And I liked how all of the different things came together, and it was very emotional as well. And there's so much mystery still there, but like if you know more, like you said, um, the significance is greater. But you can still really enjoy it, even if you don't know all the details. So I loved that one as well.
Definitely.
All right, so I'm going to change the mood a little bit with my story, which is called On the Way to Bunker 421. It's gonna be a little bit confusing, so I'm gonna try to do voices, but basically it's going to be a back and forth between someone else Wood and Constance Harbor, who are spy partners, which he will say obligatory associates. But anyways, I will just preface it and then we will get started. So, two will-o-wisp agents climb into a sleek black car and zip away towards Bunker 421 for their latest high-stakes assignment, recovering 5 top-secret databanks that have mysteriously been stolen from an ultra-secured vault located in Jackpine headquarters. Someone drives, voicing his skepticism about the strange course of events, while his partner, or obligatory associate, Constance, attempts to reassure him that all is routine as usual. All right, so you guys can actually hear the better voice acting version, but I'm going to go ahead and try to do a someone accent, and it's going to be horrible. Okay. Commander's acting so suspicious. What is this all about, really? A test? A trivial excursion to lock us away? A ploy to get us out of Jack Pine? You can't void out all my theories. I know you have some of your own to explore as well, Constance. Then Constance says, Someone, we don't have time for speculation. Let's prep. Comms on? Communication is key here. No need to be so bossy. Communication is unimportant. No, it's not. Do you have your comms? Fine, yes. And are they charged? Yes. Good. Once we get to the location, we have to grab the databanks before the account is compromised. Got it? This still doesn't sit right with me. It's possible, I reckon, but there had to be some severely incompetent operatives on the job to let a rando get away with 5 banks. Hey, be nice. I told you what I think. It's an inside job, obviously. I'm going to pull up the map on this Wisp Navi tablet thing Commander gave us. It's like we have a telescope right on the premises already. Half the battle is won. Those databanks will be within our grasp in no time. Using that as our guide is bound to create chaos. Illumination of the mind is often best achieved through hands-on learning and experience. Devices can come in handy sometimes, but I suggest you not rely on them too heavily. Talk about creating chaos. If your little stint at Will-O-Wisp has taught us anything, it's that extreme craziness and disregard for all logic can utterly destroy any breadth of knowledge acquired by any means. Listen, you're going to have to leave all that madness right here in the car, because if we make one tiny mistake, one minuscule error, the mission is blown. I'm telling you, it's going to be game over. Promise me right now. Come on, say it. My covenant will I not break, nor alter the thing that is gone out of my lips. Okay. My covenant to do whatever the heck I want. Someone! Constance, be frank. What do you really think they're going to do? Throw us into a dungeon? Someone, you don't even you don't even know who they are, and we're heading into their base, which is their territory. Who knows what kind of traps they can devise? Is this really some valiant effort? Some valiant quest? Or a fool's errand? Stay focused. You don't know what kind of inhuman means of defense could be lurking at that base. Keep your guard up and maintain your stamina till the end of the chase. Well, what if the only thing we're chasing is our own tails? Like some ethereal ferret? What on earth are you even talking about anymore? Let's start from the beginning. We're heading to Bunker 421 because 5 official databanks were stolen from Will-O-Wisp during a lunar eclipse, when all the guarding operatives magically drifted off to sleep at the same time? Focus! It doesn't matter how they were stolen. We get to the base, we scan for the banks, we find them, and take them back to Commander. Then do we brag about how we recovered the confidential documents? No! You know, McCox said to keep quiet about it. All right. Let me put this thing in landscape mode. There. Now we should be able to track each of the databanks once we're in. Hooray! What an amazing plan! Don't yell like that when we're in there, please. Why not? You really need me to explain? I believe you are the one who needs help seeing the full picture. Allow me to shine a light on the grim details. We are about to break into a base and plummet down a massive plot hole. There are databanks. They really need to get some better security in that department. Let go of that, your little paradox conspiracy theory or whatever, okay? It is what it is. Ignore that part. Treat this like a smash and grab, like a game we can't afford to lose. Fine. We'll say we determined the logical explanation for those databanks to have been stolen. We still have no reason for the existence of this Bunker 421 in the first place. Someone, let's start from the beginning again, please. We traverse into the bunker, okay? Accomplish the mission. Then, for extra credit, I will play along at your little game and help you discover the truth behind all this mumbo jumbo. Worst case scenario, your theories collapse into nothingness. You presume the memory banks were lost due to incompetence, but couldn't it have been a double agent? A tributary to an opposing organization, even? The thieves could be anyone, even the faulty security personnel tasked to guard them. If there really was a double agent that high in the organization, this turns the tide. It sure does, but forget about those facts for now. We can analyze it all later. Let's develop the formula to get this job done as quickly as possible. Commander said there shouldn't be human guards on post, but there will still be lots of security measures taken around the bunker. How should we approach? Should we split up and work in parallel? Well, I'm your partner, so obligatory associate. Fine, but I think we should stick together. We'll probably know for sure, though, once we get there to the place. What if our little foray prompts the double agent to release some sort of vector at Will-O-Wisp? I told you. We can talk about that later. Didn't we already craft the plan? Not fully. We're still only just gaining momentum. Plans are unimportant. You said we'd work out the mystery. Later! Bring it up one more time, and you will find that that ship has sailed. Well, aren't you going to map out each passage on that tablet? Leave no remnant? Make sure the whole screen is marked up with every possibility? You know I can hear all that salt in the shift in your tone, right? You can? I didn't know it would click. Can we at least just go over our backup plan for if things go wrong? Well, if things go wrong, Constance, I'll log that it's all your fault and vacate the premises. Ugh, our fate is sealed. You're the one who thinks we'll fall into danger. It'll be fine, Constance, don't worry. I wouldn't worry so much if you actually took things seriously. Pause! Car has a special message for us. And the car says in a robotic voice, "You are now approaching your destination." And then Constance says, "See, now we're out of time to plan." And someone says, "As I've said several times before, plans are unimportant. In the end, the victor will prevail." And who will that be? We'll see. And that's it. Sorry if that was so very weird and hard to understand, but I tried my best.
It was not weird nor hard to understand. Of course, I got to read yours first to help edit, but yeah. It was even better being read aloud. Yeah, it was just so fun. So it's a good thing that I was muted. So, oh my goodness. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed that too. Didn't Wordy do a great job staying consistent in character and reading aloud? Oh, most excellent. So, well, I'm going to take another quick sip of tea before I read the last story for the night. Excuse me. Swallowed wrong when I did that. Oh, I loved it too. I did, Tempest. Alrighty. So I have to pull up my document yet again. And I've scooted my screen over so I can see the chat, but I will try to just focus on the story here. So we're going to shift tempo again with kind of a folklore mystery, and we'll see how things go. This is The Mountain with Eyes. It's written by yours truly, Amy Winters-Voss. The summary is here. A curious story collector won't a little thing like being rooted in one spot stop him from recording every piece of folklore he can. But will his relentless pursuit of the tale bring destruction to the Nonagawa River Valley. This is a side story to my series, The Liminal Chronicles. The genre is myth and urban fantasy, and there is a little bit of a content warning for depression here, and someone who didn't handle it very well. So just so you guys have that heads up. Excuse me. Alrighty. You ready? Sifting through the caretaker applications required the help of Kiza, my human maid. Only 5 responded, she lamented as she spread the papers on the kotatsu heating table beside me in the solarium. Recently, I'd paid a contractor to add the greenhouse to the little traditional house Kiza kept for me. I loved soaking up the sunlight there every day. It was far superior to having to sit by the window. My last caretaker had passed away, and I missed his constant presence, but I needed a replacement as soon as possible to keep up with my publishing schedule. For Nonagawa, that's good, I said. Our little River Valley's farming town population was less than 1,300 people. How many did she expect? Kisa already had too much on her plate, yet because of our friendship, she helped me interview a few select candidates by being the one who spoke while I listened. I couldn't afford to reveal my yokai spirit being identity to everyone. I was too vulnerable. When Reize, the Tengu birdman in human disguise, interviewed, I knew we'd get along well. He was a little gruff, as were all his kind, but he was respectful and intelligent. Additionally, he agreed to the nebulous duties as assigned in the contract. What convinced me to hire him was that he kept glancing my way from Kiza with a raised eyebrow, but kept quiet about knowing what kind of being I was. Yokai know when another is near. Best of all, he loved myths and folklore like me. It was hard to suppress my grin when he bragged about having all the books by Shitani Daisuke. On his first day, Kiza directed Reize to the solarium where he knelt and bowed before me. Kodama Tree Spirit, you are the one I will serve, correct? You are a rare one to be bound to a bonsai tree that needs such special care. Nodding, I shared a few of the details. You are privy to a secret only a few have known over the centuries. I am far from ancient in the eyes of my kind, but have outlived each of my human caretakers. Know that I am pleased to have you, a fellow yokai, as the one to provide my needs now. I bowed in return. My name is Shitani Daisuke. Please take care of me. Reize gaped and instantly dipped to a deeper show of respect with his head touching the ground. Master, I had no idea. It's fine, Reize-san. There is no need for such formality between us. Please, warm up at the kotatsu, and we'll get to know each other over tea. See, Kiza's already brought some. Over the weeks, we learned to work more closely than I'd been able to with any of my previous caretakers. You collect yokai tales to keep the stories alive. Did you know that I was the one who asked you to collect our local tales? Reize asked. I nodded. I did a background check, of course. Then, might I suggest studying the haunted houses popping up? The rumor of the mountain with eyes also intrigues me. Which should we visit first? I settled on the kotatsu, which was placed perfectly in the sun. Reize shuffled his bird feet. I'm not yet an expert in transporting you unseen, and I don't wish to strain your magic capacity. I shook my head. I am a kodama, a tree spirit, and echo, as the kanji symbols in the name of my people imply. Where you go, my kind will repeat what they see and hear. So I will be your eyes and ears. I love adventures. His eyes sparkled, and he leaned forward to hear more of my plan. The next day, Reize drafted a letter from me to the Nonagawa River Valley Historic Society, inquiring about who might know the tales of the mountain with eyes. Undoubtedly, the group would put the letter in their circuit of folklore archivists. Nonagawa had a surprising number of yokai fans. Reize's particular Tengu and Nonagawa dialects were sometimes hard to understand, but he never stewed over having to repeat himself. He transformed into his human disguise and slipped on his sandals to deliver the message. While he was gone, my mind continued to turn over the possibilities, and questions plagued me. Was there a relation between the uptick in yokai activity and the story of the mountain with eyes? Would it be wise to disturb such a large yokai? It may wish to be left in solitude. Mountain spirits' moods changed with the weather, and I certainly didn't want myself or Reze to tangle with it if the mountain didn't wish to share its story. But surely, it wouldn't mind a single question, right? My rumination halted when Reze returned, diving from the sky at full speed to meet me on the veranda. Kisa couldn't see him because of the glamour he used to hide himself in his Tengu form, but I could. His wings flicked open to slow his descent, causing my tree's leaves to flutter wildly in the gust. I have news! The Historic Society dug up an obscure reference. They say the telltale sign of the mountain's location is that it sits directly in the river. In his hurry, he shoved everything off to Kotatsu in the solarium. I hated scolding him for the impetuousness that ran in his people, but this was my house, and I had worked hard for the belongings I had. Most of my kind didn't have such luxuries. Shrinking in on himself, he apologized before easing my items to the floor. Kisa brought in my topographic map, and we combed it for anything that matched the clue. Bingo! A branch of the Nonagawa River showed it splitting to run around an unnamed peak. Reze would go the next day. Reze surprised me with his ingenuity by proposing an idea that allowed me to stay put and yet help explore. He opened a small portal on his camera's lens, allowing me to see his surroundings and communicate. Then he took to the sky. Our plan was ambitious, causing the niggle of discomfort inside me to grow. Dread crept in to replace it and clung. Approaching this powerful yokai had no undo. We'd face the consequences, good or bad. Would we be able to build rapport with the mountain? Suddenly, wind rushed through the miniature portal. Seeing the lush forest below took my breath away. My perspective had been so limited as a ground dweller. Then Reze landed without a sound across the river from the remote peak. Even though the Tengu used stealth, the event had been noticed. Bulbous eyes that dwarfed my house opened as if awakening from a deep sleep. The ridge blinked slowly. Reze waited for several moments before querying, "Master?" I gulped. Despite earlier rehearsals, my mind blanked. My host tree quaked in protest over the mountain spirit's presence, despite being on the other side of the portal window. This was my opportunity to influence generations and share this kami's story, if I could just muster the courage to ask. To my chagrin, my voice emerged as a sweet squeak. "Great mountain spirit, apologies for disturbing your slumber. My associate and I wish to hear your story and save it for posterity." The ground rumbled violently. Reze's cell phone blared a major earthquake warning, so my Tengu caretaker took to the sky for safety. Twilight's soft hues blotted out as the mountain emerged from the river, cresting higher and higher above the horizon. All of Japan must have felt the tremors. My heart sank. Did our chance vanish? The enormous peak leaned to hover over Reze. Darkness from the giant spirit's shadow heralded early night, and the spirit's eyes glowed bright, fixed upon me through the portal window my Tengu friend shakily held. The mountain's words emerged painfully slow, rumbling like thunder, sending quakes in every direction. Individual words emerged every 10 minutes or so. "For centuries I slept, ignored. Yet you, who won't even set foot on the base of my vastness, dare to ask me for my tale? Cowardice." Reze perched on a sturdy branch, waiting for an hour to verify the spirit finished speaking, lest we be banned from its presence. Finally, I said, "I am Kodama. My host tree grew difficult to move. We're working on a means of transport." "A Kodama tied to a bonsai pot? Humanity's avarice knows no bounds." The ground shook so violently it liquefied. but my hands waved frantically. Great mountain spirit, until me, no Kodama had the pleasure of traveling to record yokai stories. The roller coaster shaking subsided, and Reize fluffed his feathers, settling in as we waited again. Dawn hid inside a thick, misty gloom, and finally, rumbling, started Reize and I awake. I am Hoshi. My tale is one of war. Fear could have no quarter. I fetched my notebook, praying all the while the telling would not shake Japan to pieces. The mountain said, I am a celestial spirit cast down to earth, hideous from the impact. I was driven out of every province. My state was rage against the king of the moon, who condemned me for daring to court the moon princess, Kaguya Hime. He tried to subdue me with tsunami tides, and I shot molten rock back and tethered myself to the land with boulders and trees. In my pain, I destroyed everything in my path. It led the Moon King to set a horrible precedent. I would have preferred death, for he cursed me to be this mountain and watched my beloved marry another in slow motion, over and over. Unable to unearth from this spot and free my love from a marriage she didn't want, I gave into depression. My tears flowed into this stream, morphing it into a powerful river. As he spoke, huge drops flowing from his eyes threatened to overflow the shoreline. Tremors grew gargantuan. The river surged, washing trees and boulders away. Oh, Kami-sama, I shouldn't have disturbed this slumbering giant. Would his long-held grief shake apart and flood the Nonagawa River Valley? Would residents be able to reach high ground? Quickly, I had the maid dial the emergency number, and I bellowed at the poor operator. Flash flooding at the fork of the Nonagawa River! The operator kept his wits, and soon the civil defense sirens went viral throughout town. I prayed my foolish story collecting wouldn't cost lives. The mountain's eyes swept over me through the portal just before Reize took to the sky to escape the raging river. Danger? Where? The mountain asked. From your angry earthquakes and tears, Hoshi-san, Reize shouted with more than a trace of tight-throated panic. The mountain spirit gasped, spewing a vent of scalding, sulphurous air. Reize was on the edge of the poisonous cloud and lost many wing feathers. He plummeted. No! My heart stuck in my throat as my Tengu fell to certain death. What an idiot I had been. I had no right to disturb the formerly tranquil mountain. My actions would reap the destruction of my home and snuff the life of a friend. An earthen hand raised, cradling a pool of water, and Reize splashed headfirst into it. Water gushed through his camera's portal, and I had to close it. At least Reize would survive, even if I didn't. Kami-sama, be merciful, please. But the flood never came. Just violent quakes. When Reize made it home, I had to navigate his incoherent ramblings. I couldn't believe my Tengu friend until we went back to verify. The mountain had thrown itself into the water's way and slurped away the flood, leaving an altered landscape, but a safe river. Hoshi, the mountain spirit, apologized and promised to protect the valley, though rescuing Reize and the town had taken tremendous energy. Before he fell into a deep sleep, he made me promise to publish his story, then visit and bring news from Nonagawa in a decade. Now, how could I tell Hoshi the Mountain's story without revealing too much of my own? The end. So, that one was supposed to be kind of a ghost story, but I could not turn it scary. There is something about me that I cannot turn things scary. So, anywho, well, there may be more because, Shitane Daisuke has like a whole bunch of books that he writes these tales down, so we have to write his adventures, right? So this may be another series. So, anywho, yeah. That is what we had. Yeah. Wordy, did you have anything else to share before we head out and sign off and figure out somebody to raid?
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for sharing the stories and thank you for reading. You did a great job. Thank you for inviting me here too. And that was fun, but I will say, if I'm allowed to put a link so
Yes.
that you can actually hear the better version of John McNally does an awesome job of voicing someone, and I do not do it justice. So if you would like to listen to that, hopefully you can put that in the chat.
Yeah, go
And
ahead.
then I don't know if your bot will stop me, so I'm gonna
If
put
it
it in
is
the
it a
Discord.
World Anvil link, it should go through if it
Yes.
is.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I see you posted it in.
It went through.
Okay. Yeah, oh, it went through. Okay, good. Because I was like, otherwise I have to go away from the screen and yeah. Then everybody will see all the text. So, okay.
It's fine.
Yay.
Yeah.
So
So thank
I'm glad you could share that. So a couple notes to end with. One, this zine was done for Zemo, Zine Month, and we were featured over in Zine Month. If you go to, see if I can slash Zine month, if I can type .com, we are over there, but there's also a lot of other wonderful things. There's some, I think we are the only story zine, but there's some like really cool RPGs out there. In fact, one of them I had to invest in, but it was a solo RPG which I have never played. So I was like, I must try this, and he was excited that I'm trying to remember, it was you're a wizard, but magic is outlawed, so you have a gun. It just sounded fun. So I can't remember the name, but anyway, it's over in Zine Month, and it is funding now. But there was a lot of really really good ones are there. Ours is one of the few free ones, but yeah, it was just too fun. Then also next Saturday, the 11th, we'll be talking about Zine Month over on World Anvil. I get to be a guest. I don't know if I'm the only guest, but at least one guest with Janet over on the World Anvil Twitch channel. I think that'll be noon Central Time. I haven't verified the time, but I think it's noon. And we'll be talking about our zine there too. So that is the news I have. So yeah. Did anybody have anything else that we needed to share or chat about? Pedro, did you have a link to anything for your story that you wanted to share before we head out? While I'm waiting, I will pull up Twitch and see who we can have a choice of rating. Looks like there's Coffee Quills. Oh, excellent, Tempest. We will love to have you join us. That is awesome. Okay, when you get it, let me know, and I will help share the page. So okay, does that sound fair? Or unless the short story page there is what you wanted to share, go ahead and share that. So we have Coffee Quills. Tony Plus One is one of the guys running Zemo. We could rate him or Toru. Those are the people that I know of that might be fun to raid. So who do we want to raid today? There. Thank you, Phaedra, for sharing your link there. Okay. Well, I think I'm going to pick, and I haven't seen Coffee Quills in like a good month, so I may go raid Coffee Quills if that's okay with you guys. And thank you so much for joining us for the Read Aloud today. And we will have another issue probably summer-ish time. It's got to be after the insanity of everything for me going to Japan, my daughter graduating, getting ready for college, my parents coming out, lots and lots and lots and lots of things. That's just the short version. So it'll be at least June before we have another issue out. But we will do another issue. So if you wish to participate with us, keep your stories. A minimum of 2 tweets is a story that can be submitted to the next zine. We would love to see some more people participating. So with that, I will set up my raid. My raid call is Magical Tales. You're welcome to use that or whatever raid call you wish. We will go raid Coffee Quills here, and thank you so much. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I had a blast, and I look forward to seeing you guys again at our next zine reading. Sorry, it's going to be a while, but there's only so many things I can do at once. So have a wonderful weekend.